Somebody driving a dark-coloured Jaguar was filmed on the 28th of June on the morning of the alleged bomber's dummy run, and on the morning the actual bombs went off on the 7th of July. The Jaguar was parked in the same place on these 2 days, and it arrives on the morning of the 7th of July in the car park shortly before the second alleged suicide bomber's car arrives. Although the authorities have removed certain sections of the video, it is clear that the person driving the dark-coloured Jaguar is part of their team. It is likely that this person was the alleged bomber's handler, that is, the person responsible for directing them in their part in the operation. Can you believe that neither the police, nor our media, nor inquest want to know who was driving this car? This is a key piece of evidence which may well link the four men to an intelligence-organised plot. Why haven't they released the missing footage? Why aren't they attempting to trace the driver? Why not put it out on their Crime Watch UK programme? Some have suggested the driver may have been Peter Power, who was organising the mock terrorist training exercise that morning. We're going to go over to Ireland on 11th of the 11th, because there's a guy he calls himself Muad'Dib. He made the film 7/7 Ripple Effect, and he's going to, the British government are trying to extradite him from Ireland to stand.
He's trying to belittle him.
Yeah, I mean, all he did.
Is that why he was on bail on the show?
It's just unbelievable. I'll explain what happened. He made a film about 7/7, what he believes to be the truth, and I agree with the film wholeheartedly. The alleged terrorists were patsies who thought they were taking part in a mock terror drill, and they were then murdered.
He's told a narrative. That's what annoys people so much. It's a plausible narrative, and that's very different from asking questions.
7/7 Conspiracy Files, the BBC thing, the whole point of that was to try and debunk his film.
I agreed to take part in their programme with two conditions. The first condition was that they would show my film unedited, the film 7/7 Ripple Effect, unedited on primetime television. Okay, and the second condition that I gave them was that I would have final editing rights on their Conspiracy Files 7/7 programme before it went out, because I don't trust the BBC.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Now, once you'd said, these are my conditions, and they obviously weren't happy with that, they wouldn't agree to that.
No, they refused to agree.
They then actually came over to Ireland
Yes.
to try and get you on camera to basically try and debunk you. And we'll just take a look at the clip when they've approached you in Ireland.
Ireland. The search for the man behind 7/7 Ripple Effect has brought us here. From the town of Kells, Muad'Dib has waged a propaganda war to win Britain over to his distorted vision of reality. We can reveal Muad'Dib is John Hill from Sheffield.
John Hill, BBC Conspiracy Files. Can I ask you why you've made a film accusing innocent people of mass murder on 7/7 with no evidence at all? Can I ask you why you're ignoring the huge weight of evidence against the four men blamed for the 7/7 bombings? You have made a film which is damaging trust in the British government and is undermining community cohesion in Britain. Is that your intention, Mr. Hill? Mr. Hill, why do you hide behind the name Muad'Dib?
Well, actually, I've come to Ireland to stalk Muad'Dib, so here's my version of the hit piece. The search for the man behind 7/7 Ripple Effect has brought us here, to the town of Kells. So we're going to do exactly what the BBC did. We're going to wait outside his house until he comes out the door, and then we're going to pounce on him. John Hill, Richplanet Conspiracy Files. Can I ask why you have made a film accusing guilty people of mass murder on 7/7 with lots of evidence? Can I ask why you have highlighted the huge weight of evidence that proves the four men blamed for the 7/7 bombings were innocent? You have made a film which is damaging what little trust is left in the British government and is promoting community cohesion in Britain. Is that your intention, Mr. Hill?
Yes.
These friends of the alleged terrorists were on trial for helping them in I think April 2009. So he was outraged, so he sent a couple of copies of his film to the court, say this is evidence which should be submitted to the court. 7 guys came to his house, arrested him. He was banged up. He was banged up for 23 days for trying to pervert the course of justice. And he wasn't sending films to jury members. He sent one to the judge and one to the jury foreman saying, please consider this as evidence. And it was never submitted as evidence. The 3 men were acquitted, and the British government are trying to extradite him from Ireland to stand charges for trying to pervert the course of justice.
It's got them worried enough that they're trying to extradite me and all the rest of it and punish me for making the film. Mm-hmm. But they had to react because the film is so compelling that they couldn't ignore it. Mm-hmm. I put them in a position where they had to react. Mm-hmm. They couldn't ignore it because it was gaining traction and people were watching it and obviously believing it, and there are millions of people that believe it.
Mm-hmm. After you refused to take part in the BBC interview, you were then, at some point after that, you were then arrested. So tell us what happened.
Well, it was about 8:30, 8:45 in the morning. I was still in bed, and a group of Garda, which is the Irish police, came to where I live and arrested me.
It's like me sending a copy of Silent Killers to a trial, saying, Judge, can you consider this evidence? And then me getting arrested by 7 guys just for sending a DVD to a court.
Bloody ridiculous.
23 days in prison he had, while he was waiting for the hearings. 2 spells in a cell, one of 10 days and one of 23.
That's correct.
While you've been waiting for various hearings.
Yeah, that's right.
And the hearing that you've got tomorrow is basically the British government have requested your extradition to stand trial for trying to pervert the course of justice. And all he did was send a copy of his DVD film to a case in Britain in 2008.
Yeah.
We just wish you good luck, Muad'Dib.
Thank you very much.
Muad'Dib asked the judge if he had watched the DVD, to which the judge replied, no, the court has not. The court has been asked to consider a European arrest warrant. The court will not look at the DVD for the same reason that the judge in the previous hearing did not look at it. He said, we are only interested in legal argument at this hearing. This really seemed preposterous to me. Does that mean that if Muad'Dib had not sent DVDs, but had sent, for example, something written on a piece of paper, that the court would not have bothered to read what was on the piece of paper? If so, that means you could be extradited for writing, the cow jumped over the moon on a piece of paper and sending it to a court. And the decision of the court is that Muad'Dib's lost his appeal, so he's going to be extradited. Some had travelled from the United States to give their support. We spoke to some of them on camera on our way out.
All that man is about is truth, and I think it's sick what just happened today.
I've just witnessed a guy get extradited from Ireland to the UK. The guy is 62 years of age, and all he did was post a DVD to London, basically. That's all he did. He posted a DVD.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
After a state of not looking after citizens properly. That's what I took from this today.
Okay.
It's a disgrace.
Thanks.
I've just come out of the High Court over the case of Anthony J. Hill. And it seems to me that instead of the Irish tricolour hanging there, we really should hang the Union Jack, because they are the masters that we are serving. And I have come from Mayo last night, and my name is Richie Kenny, and it is a truly disgraceful day for a man telling the truth to be extradited. That's my opinion.
Notice they put him in jail for most of the inquest, and they let him out immediately. Within days of the inquest finishing, he's out, okay?
Yeah.
Now notice that happened the previous so-called July 7th trial in early 2009.
Yeah.
That was a repeat of the previous one.
Of the Kingston trial.
Previous one, the jury said, oh, not guilty. And the government said, oh, we don't like that. Oh, let's have another trial. So let's do it again. Another 3-month trial. And they kicked off that 3-month trial by arresting Muad'Dib.
He is currently in Wandsworth Prison and has so far spent 90 days in prison, waiting for various hearings. Right, I'm standing outside Wandsworth Prison, and we've just spent 3/4 of an hour visiting Muad'Dib, who is being held in here, and he hasn't been convicted of anything. He's been in for well over 100 days, or spent well over 100 days in a prison cell, and he was in very good spirits. He told us that He's no longer being kept for 23 hours in a cell. He's actually got a job in the computer department cleaning. Yeah.
So I think it's clear that they don't want him around while they're doing their this hocus pocus fake justice trials.
Tell us what how the judge behaved when he was directing the jury.
Well, he perverted the definition of the word pervert to the jury to try to convince them to convict me.
Right.
And he did it 3 times in his summing up to really try to drive the message home. And he told, everybody knows that the word pervert means to divert something from its rightful course.
Yeah.
Okay? But his definition was totally different.
Yeah.
Okay? He told the jury that in their legalese, which is their own language, which uses our words but have different meanings, he said that in legal terms, in this legalese language, that the word pervert means to influence. So that if I had tried to influence the court, either positively or negatively, then I was guilty.
So even influencing someone towards the truth, for example, he's saying is pervert.
Yeah. It's pervert the course of justice. So he was perverting the definition of the word pervert to try to pervert the course of justice and get me convicted for trying to stop them from perverting the course of justice.
Let's hope there comes a time when we finally hear of a school in England where the sixth formers are allowed to watch and discuss that film.
Muad'Dib, who made the film 7/7 Ripple Effect, he's won his trial. Now, a viewer wrote to her MP pointing out the holes in the official story and also pointing out the disgraceful treatment of Muad'Dib. The Conservative MP Rebecca Harris responded, and I quote, "I am aware of this case and have looked into it again this morning. As this is a case that is about to receive due process in the courts, I am naturally limited as to how much I can comment on it. However, I understand that this person, real name John Hill, was behind a video about the 7/7 attacks which alleged that the government was actually behind the incidents. I know that the families of those who were killed were very upset at these allegations, which were, of course, baseless." Hang on a minute. We know that the families who were killed were very upset at allegations of government involvement. Upset at who? Upset at the government or upset at the ones making the allegations? Believe me, I am 100% on the side of those families who lost loved ones and suffered immense damage as a result of the events. My deepest sympathies go out to all those affected by these monstrous acts. But I am not aware of anyone who was upset at people who are trying to find the truth. If you know anyone who is upset at these allegations, who was affected by 7/7, I'd like to hear from them. I'd like to discuss with them, with the greatest respect, the evidence that the government was involved in the bombings. We can't use emotional blackmail to prevent people from speaking the truth, I'm afraid. The MP also states that the claims of government involvement are, of course, baseless. Well, I think it's time to press the Starship bullshit enunciator.
That was bullshit!
She then goes on to insult her constituent by citing information from the propaganda organisation, the BBC. She states, "Below is a cutting from the BBC News website from last year, which supplies a little more background." She then cuts and pastes the article from the BBC website entitled "Unmasking the Mysterious 7/7 Conspiracy Theorist." Well, I've met him and he's not mysterious at all. He's a very friendly, intelligent man from Sheffield. MPs are using mainstream media propaganda on which to base their beliefs. They forget about concerning themselves with the actual evidence. Just quote the lies pumped out by the BBC. Trial by media. This is just not good enough. When MPs are selected these days, they must have their spines surgically removed and their brains lobotomized before they can wear the badge calling themselves an MP, a master of propaganda. Shame on you, Rebecca Harris. Why not focus on the facts of the case rather than cutting and pasting other people's lies? I'd be more than happy to debate this issue with you on television, so why not get in touch if you fancy it, and then you can put us all straight on the facts.
The footage I saw of Hasib Hussain totally validates the story of the ripple effect. I think the ripple effect is fundamentally a genuine story, and partly that showing that Hasib Hussein is really there, and partly there's a whole load of evidence coming confirming the Canary Wharf story.
What do you think happened to them after they got to the tube stations? Because
well, trying to put myself in their position, which is what you have to do, really. If you get there and you're supposed to be taking part in a mock exercise, and then you find out that there's people being killed on the tubes that you were supposed to have caught, and the whole things have blown up, and there's all that chaos and carnage, the first thing you are going to think is we've been set up.
They would therefore have been at King's Cross rather confused, wondering why real bombs had gone off in a training exercise. It was reported in the media later that morning, alleged suicide bombers were shot dead at Canary Wharf.
They would have been in a panic,
yeah,
absolute panic, and of course they would possibly think that the media would help them if they could get their story to the media before they got arrested.
The Canary Wharf testimony was very central. He did a total search of literature, found 17 different media reports of Canary Wharf.
Right.
Now,
which said what? What were the media reports saying at Canary Wharf?
Just to confirm, at 10:30, 2 of them were gunned down.
The evidence points to the fact that they decided to go to Canary Wharf because Canary Wharf is where Reuters and a lot of the media are, and to try and tell their story there. I know anyway, and most people who investigate these things know that the media are complicit, and that the media only put out what the government propaganda, whatever they're told to print, that they put out, and if the government don't want something put out, they put a D notice on it.
And then later on, I think before 11 o'clock, in front of another one was gunned down in front of HSBC at Canary Wharf.
I went to film outside the HSBC bank, and I was just filming there, and the security guard practically just leapt on me and told me to switch the camera off.
Oh,
but
right.
There's cameras all over at Canary Wharf, all over the place. Yep.
What are you doing? Are you filming?
Just filming, yeah, sure.
Why are you filming?
Making a documentary.
Right, okay. Have you got a permit from Canary Wharf?
No.
No, right, you need a permit from Canary Wharf.
If you're ever going to get the truth, you're going to get it in the initial reports before the government gets on board and has a chance to censor things.
A lady called Marion Hyman, who died on 7/7, and I'll just briefly explain that. She worked at Canary Wharf, and she was travelling from sort of north-west London on the tube. She was evacuated off at King's Cross because the bombs had gone off. And she telephoned her dad to say, I'm going to go to work at Canary Wharf. I'm going to get there regardless because they're telling people to go home. 2 minutes later, the bus at Tavistock Square exploded, which is miles the other way. Well, it's not miles, but it's the opposite direction to where she was headed. She turns up on the bus. Her family were looking for her for a whole week. They didn't know where she was. They were petrified, and the authorities, well, we don't know. A week later, turns out she was on the bus, nowhere near where she was going. Now, she also telephoned a friend at work after the bus had exploded and said, I'm coming into work at Canary Wharf. Now, the 3 alleged terrorists, it is said that they headed to Canary Wharf when they were trying to flee. Now, I think she's probably spoken to them and got wind of the plot and maybe even took them to Canary Wharf. So they've took her out with the 3 young Muslim lads, and they've thought, what can we do with her? I know, we'll just say she was on the bus. So they've murdered her. They've murdered her.